Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 279. And yesterday was my 20th high school class reunion. It was interesting, man. Some of these guys I haven't seen since high school. Because I went to the 10-year one, you know, because my brother wanted to go. Well, he basically forced me to buy the tickets. Because he's like, no, motherfucker, we going. I said, all right. And this nigga ain't pay me. He didn't pay me back for the tickets. Because he told me, nah, straight up. He's like, dog, you make more money than I do. Fuck you. You paying for the tickets. Nigga never paid me back. And so I ended up going to the second one, which is last night. And some people who didn't come to the 10-year one came to the 20th. And it was interesting to see people. Um, talk story, catch up, talk shit, whatever. And it was fun, man. Because some of my classmates they're like, you came. I'm like, yeah, and like, and they're like, we wasn't sure if you was coming. I was like, yeah, I thought about it, but I'm like, okay, like, what am I gonna do, on a Saturday? Because honestly, I don't go out, going out to me is going to the gym on Saturday and going grocery shopping. That's what that is, right? So anyway, man, it was interesting because it's like you had people that have kids, a bunch of kids. I think one of my classmates, she had 7, which is crazy to me. But then again, I think she has like 2 sets of twins and 1 set of triplets. So yeah, a lot of fucking kids. And then I got classmates who got kids that like ages 17, 14, and 3. I'm like, how the fuck? How did like what happened? What happened with the 3-year-old? Like, why would you want to restart the game when you all are already halfway through? You know, and they're like, oh, yo, I didn't know I was pregnant. I was like, okay, and and I thought that was and then you got the classmates who telling me like, oh yeah, man, well my wife wants X, Y, and Z. She wants kids, this and this and that. I'm like, dog, well, what you want? You know what I mean? It's like, and like they should have told me, I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, they're like, yo, like I want kids, but I'm scared. But I'm like, yo, it's like, I'm not gonna sit there and say that I know that feeling because I don't. But shit, it's like if you want kids, bro, just make sure that you have kids with the right person, man. It's like a lot of these motherfuckers be having kids, with people who ain't the right person, and like they wonder why their life is so chaotic. And I'm not saying that these people are bad people. I'm just saying it's like you talk to most dudes, and like their regret is like, yo, I had kids with the wrong individual. And it's like, and it's true, man. It's like I've seen that a lot. It's like where girls get pregnant at 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, and it's like the dude they get pregnant by is a piece of shit. But on the flip side though, like I did meet some people, some like some of my classmates wives and girlfriends and whatnot and husbands and everything too, um and that was cool. You know what I mean? So just sitting there talking to people, and for a split second I did miss my ex, because she would probably be talking to people and making friends and shit. And she would definitely love some of my classmates, because they're they're eccentric. And but yeah, man, last night was fun. Um, it was cool. I think I'm gonna bring that up in my therapy session. That I went to my 20th reunion. Met some people, and just had a good old time. Anyway, um, but yeah, so it was fun meeting other people, talking shit. And a couple people had asked about my brother, because like usually when they saw me, he was there with me. And I was like, oh well, he died a couple years back from respiratory failure. Yeah, I miss my dude. I miss him so much. Yeah, so out of the two of us, like we was he was the more social one. It's like he could just literally roll up to any venue, any spot, make friends. You know, that's who he was. You know, like, he was just super friendly. Um, but yeah, last night was fun, man. It's like I never thought I'd say this, but I'm looking forward to the next one. uh, anyway, so what I wanted to talk about in this podcast is people who have cop outs, man, or people who make excuses, right? And it's like, or people that say, "Oh, I'm gonna wait till X, Y, and Z gets better," yada yada yada. And in reality, you don't. You know, like the perfect time is now. You know, it's like it's not when you have money. It's not when you know are like more financially stable or whatnot. I used to have this one friend. He was horrible at managing money, and I said, "Bro," I said, "Man, it's like what?" I was like, "If you can't manage, you know, 2,500, $5,000, what makes you think you manage 10? What makes you think you manage 100,000? You know?" Because he was always talking about money, this and that. I was like, "Bro, you can't even manage the money you got now. You know, like you in debt now. You talking about what you oh, I wanna, like if I get up to 100 grand, bro, I'll be cool." And I'm like, "Yeah, but my man, it's like having the ability to manage that large sum of money is you have to have the ability to manage smaller amounts, and you can't do that, right?" And I was watching this video, this reel before I hopped on my podcast, and the video was talking about like it was two videos. It was a cop out video, and she lists 10 steps, and then this other video I posted to my story about a guy. He says like, "Oh," and about calling people out and keeping people accountable, and he talked about like how people they will what's the word I'm looking for? They will they, they will always come with problems, this and that, and like they'll always deflect. And like in the video, he talks about like, "Yo, it's like like instead of you always coming with a problem, why don't you realize that you are the problem, or at the very minimum, you're a part of the problem." And I think when he says that or said that, like like it's true, because a lot of the times people will sit there and be like, "What you mean I'm part of the problem?" I was like, "Yeah, you're a part of the problem." It's like you're sitting there blaming somebody else when the reality is you. When in reality it's not really the other person, it's you. It's like going back to what I said earlier about my classmates being afraid to have kids and everything, to having kids with the wrong person. It's like, oh, it's like, yeah, like I get it. Like that sucks because that shit that they tell you, oh yeah, it's only 18 years. Like, no, the fuck it's not. It's not 18 years. It's the rest of your fucking natural life. You're always gonna be linked to that guy or that girl because y'all had kids when you was in your 20s and your 30s. You know. And one of my other classmates, like I guess her husband was trying to convince her to have another one. She's like, "Nope, fuck that." She's like, "We're almost done. Like, we don't have to hire a babysitter. We don't have to do X, Y, and Z. It's like we don't have to do anything. It's like there's nothing that we have to do. We're not having another kid." It's like because she has 3. But if you look at her, look like she doesn't have any kids. But yeah, so it is stuff like that, and it's true. I think it's also something that a lot of people don't they don't take into consideration too. It's like, it's like don't fall in love with potential. Don't fall in love with something, with things that people will tell you. You know, Ask you to look at what they do. Like look at their behavior patterns. Like look if they fit into your lifestyle, and if they don't, that's fine. You know, like it doesn't have to be like, "Oh my God, this and this and that." It's like, come on, sis. You knew that. I'm gonna just use a random name here. Franco and fucking Sally wasn't a mesh back in the day. You think having a kid is gonna make that better? It's not. having a kid, it will not make that better. That will make that worse, you know? And that's where, like, a lot of people don't realize that too, bro. It's like, yeah. It's like you can't sit there and like always be the victim or always, be pointing the fingers back and forth. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. And I think a lot of people they'll deflect, they'll do X, Y, and Z, but in reality, like, they know that we're right. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, who wants to sit there and be recognized as being part of the problem? And it sucks. It does, straight up. I'm not gonna sit here and bullshit you. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh yeah, it's it's like, no, it's like it's a real shitty feeling. It's a real shitty feeling that you have people out there that continuously put themselves into these horrible situations, whether it's personal, professional, whatever it is. And you end up just like, wow, okay, bet. And at the end of the day, it's sad, it's pathetic. It's like, put it this way, it's like falling in love with a stripper, thinking that she likes you for you, and she doesn't. I mean, it's like, I know dudes back in the day who would go to the strip club every fucking weekend. I'm like, that's crazy. I could see, once every couple months, spend a couple hundred. Well, okay, whatever. That's not bad. But it's like, if you out there going to the strip club and dropping $500 to $1,000, and every weekend, bro, that's $12,000 a year spent on somebody who doesn't like you for you. That's weird. That's pathetic. And if you add that up over the years, that's if it's $1,000, if it's $1,000 every weekend, that's $4,000 every month. 4,000 every month times 12 is 48,000. You times that by 2 or 3. That's 2 years. That's 96,000. 3 years. That's 143,000. So you do the math, dog, on that. And it's like, people don't stop and think about that, man. I'm like, yo, like, you're as much as part of the problem as they are. It's like, they looking at you as a mark because that's what you are. Now, I'm not saying don't go to the strip club and like not have a good time, whatever. If that's your thing, cool, whatever, or whatever it is, like, or like, my thing is, hell, I play video games every once in a while, and motherfuckers be looking at me like, man, almost 38 years old, you playing video games. It's like, what for? Like, why? Does that bother you? Okay, I'm sorry it bothers you, but it makes me happy, and it's not a detriment. It's not like I'm sitting there gaming for 4, 5, 6 straight hours. Niggas ain't doing that. But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah. I think it's important to recognize where people are at, and you have to meet them where they're at. But you can't bring them up to where you at. So it's like, again, I'm gonna use a strip club reference and the bar reference too. Like, if you meet somebody who goes to the strip club every weekend thinking that these girls like them, they don't. Or you meet somebody that goes to the bar every fucking weekend, spending $200-300 every weekend. You're like, damn, what the fuck are you running from? Because there was this one particular bar. I used to go there quite a bit. When I like, shit, this is like back when I was in college, or maybe when I first graduated college. I can't remember because it's been so long. It got to the point where me and a couple of buddies would go there so often that from the time we walked in, um, they would have our drinks sitting at the stools by the time we got there. And my drink of choice was, believe it or not, an amaretto sour. I just liked it. You know, it was cool. You know, it's you know. And sometimes I would grab dinner there too because it was a bar slash pub. So they had the pub in the front and they had the bar in the back. And so if I just want to go out for a chill evening, that's where I would go. And like I said, I haven't been there in years because it got to the point where they knew me so well that okay, they know he's gonna come and have a few drinks, maybe get some food, whatever it is, and then just bounce. And I had to take stock in that because I'm like, yo, it's like what I'm doing is actually detrimental to what I want to do. Because back then I was an aspiring, competitive bodybuilder. I'm like, yo, I can't be spending all this time in the gym killing my workouts and then killing my body with a toxin that my body can't metabolize. You know, a toxin that actually does more damage to your organs than anything else. And I think that's the most critical part, man, is to realize that, like I said earlier, you are a part of the problem. You know, there's no cop outs. There's no escaping accountability with me. I'm not saying that everybody doesn't fuck up because people do, but at the same time, it's like you can't sit there and just be like, oh yeah, it's the other person. Oh yeah, it's this, it's that. Like no, ma, it's also you too. You know, oh my boy, it's you too. You know, and it was interesting too because it's like there was a couple people asking me like, oh, so are you still friends with so and so back in the day? And like they're talking about my core group friends, you know, that like we used to hoop, we used to chase girls, we used to do all of this shit. And I'm like, oh no, like I hardly ever see him, you know. And they're like, why? It's like, you know, like we had a falling out like decades ago, you know. But it's like, so I just kind of distance myself from that, you know. But like every time I do see him, I'm like, hey man, what's up? How you doing? How's your kid? And how's your mom? Them, you know, that type of shit. Like it's still love there, but it's like you gotta distance yourself from that. It's like I'm not saying that this individual is a bad individual because he's not. But it's like for what I want to do and what I want to do in my life, I have to limit my interactions with certain people. And it doesn't mean that these individuals are bad people. It doesn't mean that they're like, oh yeah, like so and so had a falling out, so fuck them. It's like no, it's not. It's not that. You know, it's never that. Unless it's like some disrespectful shit, then I'll be like, yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like I said, you have to meet people where they're at, and you have to analyze where they're at. You know, like not judge them, but analyze the situation. It's like if somebody tells you, "I'm not ready for X, Y, and Z," what they're saying is that whether it's a relationship, a job opportunity, or whatever it is, if somebody hits you with that, that's them saying, "I can't meet you at the level that you're at because I'm too afraid to go there." Or if they say, "I don't want a relationship right now," what they mean is that I don't want a relationship with you for X, Y, and Z, whatever the reasons are. and and I think, while valid, it's also sad because you're sitting there thinking that, oh yeah, it's this, it's that, when it's really not. You know, it's not something that you can just like pretend to get better or something that just like, oh yeah, boom. Like it doesn't work out that way. Um, I don't force relationships. I don't force communication. Number one, because I'm too old for that shit. Like I'm not gonna chase you. I'm not gonna do X, Y, and Z. It's like my ex used to always say, like, oh yeah, like if I don't chase you, you know, we don't talk. I'm like, you ain't gotta chase me, baby. You already got me. I said the reason why we don't have conversations right there in the moment is because, baby girl, I know me. You know, I know you to a point, you know. And it's like, whenever she would try to force conversations with me, I'm like, it's because she's spiraling, or it's because she's overthinking shit, or whatever it is, right? And so I'm not saying that's a cop out, but what I'm saying is like, you can't force people to be at the level where you're at right now, you know. And everybody talks about, yeah, like excuse me, like an overthinker needs somebody who assures them. True, but imagine being with somebody, you know, and I'm just saying hypothetically, imagine being with somebody that you gotta constantly reassure. It's like how that guy Demetrius Wiley from he does the Tonight's Conversation. Some of his content is on point. A lot of it is like, some of it is like, come on, bro, really? Like, cause he was talking about closure, all this other shit, and like this one clip, and he kept saying like, oh, if I don't understand something, I'm gonna keep asking the same question. I'm like, bro, it's like, my nigga, it's like, and so I commented on it, and I'm like, yo, like, if you need closure, go to therapy. It's not somebody else's job to provide that for you, you know. And some people attack me in the comments, but most people, like, they agreed with me too. They were like, yeah, it's like, yeah, straight up, because it's like, after a while, like, you asking the same question, hoping to get that answer, and if you don't get it, you end up with a situation like that where you got somebody asking the same question, but I don't understand it. X, Y, and Z. It's like, oh, it's like, what's there not to understand it? Like, yeah, it sucks. You know, it sucks that the person that you like or whatever doesn't like you back the way you like them. It does. Like, I remember once I was talking to this girl, and she told me. So me and her were talking for a couple weeks. You know, maybe like a week and a half, maybe like a week, and I had asked her like, oh, you know, what's your zodiac sign or something. So she told me the zodiac sign, and I said, oh, well, you know, like, we may be compatible. So I was low key flirting with her too, and she said something, and then I asked her like, oh, so what's your availability like? She hits me back the next day, and she's like, and she says, oh, I'm sorry, like, you seem nice, but I'm not interested. Cool, I leave it alone, you know. I ain't respond to nothing because what's the point, right? And so she hits me back the next day, and she's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, you know, I didn't mean for that to come out rude, or, you know, or mean. I'm just not looking for anything right now." What that translates into is like, I'm not looking for anything right now with you, ever. You know, that's what that means. It's soft letdown, and I think that that's the most important thing, to pick up on those cues and pick up on shit that it's like, yo, it's like, you know, it's like you have to like be smarter than that. You know, you have to be able to be like, okay, bet, cool. You know? And to me that's like, it's important. You know, it's like, you can't sit there and be, oh, X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada, whoop de whoop. Because you can't. And I think that's the most important thing, is because people will sit there and they'll make excuses, do X, Y, and Z, but you really can't. You know, like, you can't force somebody to like you. You can't force somebody to be friends with you. You can't keep a motherfucker as a friend if they don't want to be your friend for whatever reason. Like, let's say let's say that you break up with somebody, and they want to be like, oh, well, can we go back to being friends? Like, why would I want that? The romantic relationship ain't work out. Why would you want, you know? And I'm talking like directly after, you know, like, y'all break up. And I'm like, no, like, you don't get access to me, just, you know, like, in a different way, just because you want it. Like, you don't, you know. And I think that's where a lot of people get it fucked up at, is because, like, oh, they think, oh, like, and I've had people try to foster relationships with people who have a direct line to me, and I'm like, and they're like, no, like, we're not doing that. It's like, you're not my friend. You're my homeboy's It's true because it's like I said, you can't meet, like you can't you can't force somebody to meet you where you're at. You know, you can only meet them where they're at. Like, so if they have issues or whatever it is, it's like, okay, cool, I get that, I understand that, but at the same time, it's like, what are you gonna do to get better? What are you gonna do to understand? Understand that you have to get better. And I think that's the most important thing. Uh, excuse me. And when you don't have the particular tools, and my therapist even pointed this out to me, like in our second session. She said, like, yo, like, like, I've noticed like a little bit of an avoidance pattern. Oh yeah, and I'm like, yeah, 100%, doc. Cause I told her, it's like, straight up, it's like, if I don't want to talk about something, we ain't gonna fucking talk about it. Yeah, like, we're not gonna talk about it like right then and there. Like, we'll have that conversation, but we're not gonna sit there and have it right there. We're not doing that. And a part of that is also a defense mechanism that I know that I have. But another part of it is like, yo, it's like, okay, I'm sorry you feel that way, but can we table this? Like, can we come back, you know, at a later time? That later time may be 2 hours from now. It may be a day. It may be a couple days. Hell, it may be a week. It may be 2 weeks. But we gonna talk about it. And that's just my thing, because I value relationships so much, and it's like, I don't want to say something in the heat of the moment and now it's fucked up. I don't want to say something where, like, oh fuck, I can't believe I said that shit. Because I'm also a firm believer in, like, what you say out of anger, you mean that shit. I don't care what people tell you. I don't care what, I don't care what they say. It's like, no, it's like, there's two types of people that tell the truth: fucking toddlers and angry people. Or three, and drunks. So toddlers, angry people, and drunks. Three people. Three people. Three. And at the end of the day, if you ever do run into those angry and drunk people, it's like, best believe that they've been holding that shit in. It's like, I used to have a friend, he used to say X, Y, and Z. About, like, she's like, oh, well, I don't talk about my relationship because, with you, because X, Y, and Z, out of respect for you. He's like, no, you don't talk about your relationship because there's nothing to talk about. Like, I don't care. I don't care how your relationship is, because it doesn't matter to me. It's like, I told her, like, you notice I don't ask. I don't inquire. And you never thought as to why? Because number one, I don't care. That's not my relationship. And number two, it's that's fucking weird. Like, who does that? Who inquires about a relationship that they don't give a fuck about? I'm just saying. So, I know this is kind of long-winded, but I think it's important, man. It's like, as we get older, and I told my therapist too, because she asked me, like, oh, like, why, why do you want to go, what made you want to go to therapy? It's like, doc, I was like, I knew I had to get better, because I didn't want to have the same problems I had in my 20s and my early 30s to be the same problems in my 40s, 50s, and 60s and 70s. I didn't want to be that dude. And that's what that is, man. It's like, I recognize that I had to do something to get better. Okay, let me go get better. Okay, how do I foster healthy relationships? How do I foster X, Y, and Z? And it's true. If somebody tells you what they think of you, believe them. Don't try to change their mind. Don't try to do X, Y, and Z, because It doesn't. You know, the other night I had somebody call me average. Okay, cool. That's what you think of me, but you don't know me. So it is what it is. And I think that's the most important thing. Let people think what they think of you. It doesn't mean anything. Their opinions if you don't, they don't pay your bills. They don't do X, Y, and Z. And it's true. I think a lot of people will sit there and try to make people like them when the person that they should be liked by is themselves. Every time that you look into a mirror or take a selfie, you should love the person looking back at you. And I don't, and me personally, I think a lot of people don't do that enough. You know, they don't sit there and be like, okay, I'm worthy, I'm this, I'm that, I'm boom, 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 boom. It's like people I know who've been divorced and married, remarried multiple times. I'm like, at a certain point in time, you realize like, yo, it's like there's a reason why there's a reason why you're leaving, and there's a reason why they're leaving too. So it's not really them per se, it's also you and your inability to recognize that you have the same, that you have recurring issues, you have all this stuff going on, and get better. In order to get better, you have to do better. But in order to do better, you have to want to get better. And if you want to get better, you have to recognize that you got some work to do. All right, y'all. It's about 32 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping it 4 piece. Private player, positive pushing. I'll see y'all next week, Sunday. I love y'all. And like I always say, know your worth because you're better than what you are. All right, y'all. Peace. Happy Sunday, guys.